Hello, everyone, and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS video for today, Friday, um, July 21st. I couldn't think of the date there for a second, but I do apologize for that. Yesterday, there was no content. It was an early slate. Didn't feel too comfortable with getting out in the amount of time and everything else like that, and kind of having a little bit short notice for you guys. So just wanted to put out the cheat sheet and the notes yesterday. So hopefully you guys found that useful. Hopefully you had some decent success yesterday as well. But we're back at it today. It's Friday. It's an 11-game main slate in total. Be no recap today since I didn't put out a core picks yesterday. So we're going to jump right over to the weather for today. After that, we'll get into the core picks for today. One pitcher, four hitters if you're joining me for the very first time. Guys that stand out in terms of past history and their hitter versus pitcher matchup, or have been doing pretty well recently, or kind of a combination of both. And then last but not least, we'll go over to the cheat sheet and talk about the top teams that I do have to stack for GPP purposes for today overall. But without further ado, we're going to get into that weather for today. So it looks like there's going to be a couple weather spots at this point in time. We are starting off with the very first game, the New York Yankees and the Kansas City Royals. That game is in New York. There's a 70% chance of rain. If this game ultimately does go off, the Yankees do look like a pretty good option today. I do have one of their players in my core, so that could very much change throughout the day as we do speak. Then we're going to keep moving down. So very small chance of rain in Washington. Not going to talk about that. Boston, we got 45% chance of rain for the Boston Red Sox, New York Mets. The Boston Red Sox are another team that looks, the New York Mets are another team that I think is a pretty good team to stack today against James Paxton. It's a pretty decent history versus them in the past for their hitters. So we'll keep an eye on that one definitely for sure. And then we have Cleveland, very, very small chance of rain, 1%. We're not going to talk about that. 0% in Cincinnati. Then we got a couple domes. Then we get down to 19% chance in Minnesota. Probably nothing major there, but as living up in Wisconsin this past week, it seems like every day it's been raining. So even when there's a small chance of rain, we'll just keep an eye on that one just in case. And then we have Los Angeles with 0%, Oakland with 0%. And let's see, Seattle's in the dome, so we don't have too much to worry about there. So mainly the Boston, New York Mets game and the Yankees, Kansas City game are going to be the two that we're watching most closely today. And then if anything would change majorly weather-wise with any of the other games, we'll leave that as an update down in the comments below. But that's pretty much what we got in terms of weather for today. Just keep that in mind as we move along for the day, but hopefully we get some better news as the day moves along for those two games. But with that being said, we're going to get off this page. We'll go over to FanDuel, talk about the core five talk about my core five players for today and the core picks overall. Really struggling to talk today, so I do apologize for that. But at the pitcher position, going with Framber Valdez, he's $11,200. He is the most expensive pitcher on this slate. Goes against Oakland today, a very good matchup. He's got good history versus them in the past. 40 points and 52 points in his two starts versus them this season. Last year in his three starts, had 43, 31, and 55. So pretty safe floor there at the very least, but he is the most expensive player on the slate. I do expect Shohei Ohtani to be up there in terms of ownership with him as well, since Shohei Ohtani is coming in at $1,000 less. Looking at the season, when he's done, over 40 fantasy points per game, averaging on the season, 2.76 ERA, 7 wins. And, really hasn't had too many poor starts this year. So that is a pretty safe play overall. And Framber Valdez like the upside that he can present overall. So definitely a guy that I want a lot of today, but I'll still get some Shohei Ohtani. I'll still get some other options in there as well. Always trying to mix and match at that pitcher position. Do see we got a comment up here and said, let's get that money. So it's been a pretty good week so far. Hopefully that trend continues today on Friday. Looks like they get some more of them free contests back up on the FanDuel side. I believe it's the triple play. I believe you can get up to 3 entries there. So definitely be sure to check that out. Even if you're just trying to throw in a little bit different contrarian lineup, definitely a good way to do it and not cost you any money at the same time. Then we're going to move down to second base. This is the Yankee that I do have in this lineup going against Alex Marsh today, who is making his 4th career start. Wasn't too great in AAA. Pitched pretty well the last time out, though. Had a decent amount of strikeouts there, but I do like Gleyber Torres. He's on like a 10-game hitting streak at this point in time, $2,900. Still too cheap for his price tag. 263 average, 14 home runs, 39 RBIs, averaging about 10 fantasy points per game on the season. And like I said, as of late, it's like a 10-game hitting streak at this point in time. So he's been really well, even though he had that slower start to the year. But definitely do like getting to him once again today if that game ultimately goes off. If it doesn't, be sure to look out in the comments for a pinned comment for his replacement. Then at third base, we have Austin Riley. I believe I've had him maybe once or twice already this week, but $3,400, just too cheap a price tag for him at this point in time. Averaging just under 11.5 fantasy points per game on the season. Goes against the Milwaukee Brewers today. It is Freddie Peralta on the mound. Freddie Peralta's kind of been an enigma this year. He's either like been really good or really bad. There's kind of no in between this year. So, his ERA is about 4.4 at this point in time. There's games where he gets hit pretty hard, and then like the last game, pitched pretty well. So, not really sure what you're going to get out of him in any given start. Although he has that high end upside that he's shown in the past. Austin Riley is 2 for 5 versus him in his career. Austin Riley has had a very strong week just overall when we're talking in general. Let's see, 4 home runs in his last 3 games. Obviously, probably going to be a pretty popular play since he's still only $3,400 overall. Then I guess I didn't mention his stats in total for the season. 268 average, 20 home runs, 56 RBIs, averaging just under that 11.5 fantasy points per game. Another guy that got off to a slow start, but has been hitting the ball extremely well as of late. Then we moved into the outfield. I got JD Martinez here, $3,900. It's probably a little bit more than I'd like to pay for him, but matchup looks pretty good against James Paxton today. He is 3 for 9 with 2 home runs versus him in his career. 256 average, 23 home runs, 66 RBI. So kind of a nice bounce back season here for JD Martinez. Was a little bit slower last year, but averaging just under 12.5 fantasy points per game. Ultimately wish he would be a little bit cheaper in price tag, but at the same time, do like the upside that is presented there. We're looking at his recent stats. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of his last 7 games, he's gotten at least 1 hit. So there is a little bit of a safe floor there. Has the high end upside at the same time, although he really hasn't been hitting quite as many home runs as of late, but did have 2 right before the All-Star break, none since the All-Star break. So hopefully he turns that around today just in general. But like I said, guy that's a little bit more expensive. If you want to go down to a cheaper option in the outfield, definitely would understand that as well. We're going to get to the last guy, and it's Mark Canha, a guy that really hasn't been that great so far this season. 241 average, 6 home runs, 28 RBIs. Only $2,400 though. 7.6 fantasy points per game. Should be in the starting lineup. It's against left-hander in James. Excuse me. So I do want to apologize. So JD Martinez was 3 for 9 with 2 home runs versus Andrew Heaney, who is pitching against the Dodgers today. Mark Canha, 3 for 9 with 1 home run versus James Paxton. Got a little bit ahead of myself in my notes there. So I do apologize for that. So the good, Mark Canha is a guy that typically it's left-handed pitching pretty well. He has had big performances in DFS over the past 2 seasons, sometimes against those left-handed pitchers. So do like him today. Tommy Pham did hurt his groin yesterday, so he shouldn't be in the starting lineup. So it should pretty much be a guarantee that Canha does start today, whether it's in the outfield or at DH. A little bit hit or miss so far this year, especially in recent history too as well. So we're looking for that high-end upside that he can present on any given slate. He's only $2,400. He's a good pay down option today just in general. If he pays off at that price tag, really helps put your lineup over the top. If he gives you 6 points, he's probably only a push. If he ends up with 0, still not the worst thing in the world since he is pretty cheap, but do like the upside that he could present today overall. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do have listed here, you would have $11,200 remaining, $2,800 per player. So probably have to find some other value plays on today's slate just in general. But, obviously, if you want to go off of Framber Valdez down and pay down to a different pitcher, saves you some money there. If you want to pay down from JD Martinez, could save you some money there as well. But with that being said, we're going to get off of the FanDuel screen. We'll get over to YouTube community tab and the cheat sheet and the bottom half, talk about the top GPP teams to stack. Once again, the cheat sheet is 100% free, and I accidentally just brought up FanDuel there, so I do apologize for that. And the cheat sheet is 100% free. It's up on Twitter. It's up on Facebook. It's up on the YouTube community tab. So definitely be sure you're checking it out as you're building out your lineups throughout the day. If you are interested in more in-depth notes in terms of hitter versus pitcher matchups, whether or not I would consider a pitcher in play, risky play, or an avoid altogether on today's slate, be sure to check out patreon.com/Coach Craig Sports. Small monthly donation over there. You get some additional notes Monday through Friday to help you with your DFS building process as well. But what I got today for the top GPPT stacks. So I have the Yankees. Ultimately, that game does have that large chance of rain. So that'll be one that we watch throughout very closely. Like I said, Alec Marsh, 4th career start. His last start was pretty good, but even going back to AAA, it was 4.6 ERA. It wasn't a highly regarded prospect. There's a lot of upside that could be had here from this Yankees team overall. Obviously, they're playing at Yankee Stadium, shorter porch, I should say, in right field. So there is opportunities to be had there. Do like the upside that they could present overall. Obviously, their lineup probably ain't as good as it could be or hasn't played up to their potential so far this year. But guys like Gleyber Torres, if you want to go after him, if you expect Anthony Rizzo to kind of have that bounce back game, there's a lot of cheap Yankees that you could go after in this lineup today. And then we have the Dodgers going against Andrew Heaney. Some pretty good history there in the past, whether it's JD Martinez, Max Muncy, Mookie Betts. Those would be the main three. But if you want to mix and match some other pieces in there, definitely makes some sense as well. Obviously, those three guys are a little bit higher price, so you're probably going to have to find a value pitcher to play alongside them. Ranger Suarez is the guy that I do most like the most, in terms of $9,000 or under today at $8,800 versus the Cleveland Guardians. Could have some decent upside there. Cleveland's a team that doesn't always strike out too highly. So but they're not a team that puts up a ton of runs more times than not. So definitely like the advantage that he has there versus their lineup. If you're trying to build out a Dodger stack, would be one that I considered pairing alongside it. Then we have the New York Mets. At the same time, or I should say for the New York Mets, obviously there's a rain potential there. Going against James Paxton, some decent history versus him, whether it's Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso has a home run versus Minisker, only 1 for 3 though, because it's a very small sample size. Mark Canha, he has that good history. So a few different options that we could look at from this Mets team overall. If you want to play Francisco Alvarez, he's been doing pretty well as of late. Mets guys aren't costing you too much on today's slate, so definitely get some exposure to them. Obviously, make sure that game does ultimately go off as well. And then last but not least, another cheap team that we can stack today is the Minnesota Twins. They're going against Lance Lynn, and we talked about Freddie Peralta being hit or miss this year. Lance Lynn is that plus some. So really good in some starts, really poor in some other starts. Could be a good start against the Twins. If you want to do a contrarian play of Lance Lynn, makes some sense there since the Twins are a team that does strike out quite a bit. But if they get on Lance Lynn like they've done in recent history, could be a pretty good day for the Twins overall. You can look at Willie Castro if he ultimately ends up starting. Multi-positional versatility, only $2,700. Same thing with Donovan Solano, $2,600, multiple position versatility. Alex Kirilloff, Max Kepler, hitting the ball pretty well as of late. Byron Buxton's only $3,000. Carlos Correa is only $2,900. So quite a few cheap options from that Minnesota Twins team today. But with that being said, that's pretty much all that I do have at this point in time in terms of core picks, GPP stacks, everything else like that. If you guys have any additional questions, feel free to drop them down in the comments and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Also, be sure to let me know your favorite play on today's slate, whether it's someone from my core 5 picks, whether it's someone from my top GPP stacks, or whether it's a completely different player you guys think I missed. Definitely interested in hearing what you have to say. But with that being said, also be sure to check out the comments throughout the day. We'll be having any weather updates down there, as well as the starting lineups as they do come out throughout the day. But with that being said, pretty much all that I do have at this point in time. If you're checking my channel out for the very first time or have yet to do so, please consider subscribing. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we got MLB DFS going on. We got some CFL DFS going on. The 4-game slate did start already for the CFL DFS, but if you're interested in Saturday and Sunday, be sure to check out my Patreon notes. Definitely have some good insights there. And then if you want to check out the video that I did post up on Wednesday, could take some away from that as well for that 2-game slate as well. But with that being said, that's really all that I do have at this point in time. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in, whether you're watching live or on replay. Definitely means a lot to me. Hopefully each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS tonight.